Well, hello. If anyone is in the chat, can you just let me know? I would appreciate it. We're getting a little bit of a late start here. Sounding's good. I appreciate it. All right, I got a bunch of different things going on, y'all. So you're just gonna have to bear with me. I'm gonna try to pay attention to the chat. Let's see here. Yeah, looks like everything is going good. So I'll give it just a few minutes here. If you guys have any questions at all, please go ahead and put it in the chat. We are here just to hang out. I'm going to do a little bit of listing here on our eBay store while I'll take y'all's questions. And if at any point in time video drops, you notice a major delay as far as latency, if the audio becomes an issue, please let me know. I greatly appreciate it. Who all loves ball caps? You guys like ball caps? So I don't have a mannequin handy, which I would advise. I'm actually going to probably end up picking one of those up this week. But for now, this will do. If y'all like John Deere, this is actually a really nice hat that we just sourced this past weekend. Very clean hat. All right, so before I even get started, as you can see, if you guys are just curious, I'm not going to mess around with the camera, but this is our photo booth, 24 by 24 by 24. This is what we use for a lot of our medium, the small items. And then you can see there's lots of different backgrounds, lots of different colors. I just like a clean area. So trusty, good old handy dandy Dawn dish soap, just regular, works wonders. You can use that for cleaning lots and lots of different stuff. Smells good. If y'all want to share it out, I would greatly appreciate it as well. I did share it a couple of different platforms, but all right. First question. Since you're tackling photos, let me ask you this. So rolling pins are 36 inches long. It's tough to photograph those. Any suggestions? Sure. That is a great question. I appreciate you asking. So below what we have here, I made myself a bench. What I would recommend doing in that situation, lighting is absolute key. So you can use a table. The main thing is clean. You don't want anything dingy, you know what I mean, in the background. Something clean. I prefer personally, and I think branding is also key. So depending on where you're selling, the platform is not to say sometimes I use yellow, red. Of course, there's opportunities now for like AI and that sort of stuff. I just try to be as organic as possible. That's just me. You can see here, there's also, we have black. I use white. I have yellow, blue, green. Sometimes with seasonal items too. That could also be key. So depending on, let's say that rolling pin is Christmas, some type of design incorporated with Christmas, you might want to think about green, red, to kind of stand out, because the main thing, especially on eBay, you want to stand out on the platform. And one thing that we kind of pride ourselves in, and this is something that we do on a regular basis, is if we're seeing limited traction on a certain item that we feel has a good sell-through rate, what we will do periodically is we'll go through and actually do our due diligence. We'll research that item based on SEO and that sort of stuff to ensure that we have the best titles, the best photos, and check in incognito mode. We'll check in various modes, various devices to see is there anything from that standpoint that we can adjust. As long as I see that I'm kind of falling in on that, where I'm standing out, where, there's not 5 million different listings and I'm at the very bottom type of deal. So, but great question. I would use a table. I would use some type of solid surface. Lighting is absolute key. What I enjoy here is try to use as close to natural light as possible. So somewhere in that 6,500 Kelvin range, I find is more than sufficient. I have a photo booth and they fit, but man, they look like a stick. They take up very little space in the photo, so there's a lot of empty space. Yeah, so you're going to want to focus on cropping. Cropping is key. So in square mode, if you are selling on eBay, that's oftentimes advised. I'm not sure what platform you are selling on. Maybe it's on Facebook Marketplace, that sort of thing. But I would recommend trying to cut out. So let me give you an example here. Let's say, let's just grab this hat, for example. So like I was saying, let's see. I like this here for now until I get a mannequin. Obviously, this is a wide angle lens, Logitech 920 that I'm using here. So don't rely on the camera. That's not how the photos are going to look. But I like to, the main thing for me, and I wish I had a rolling pin handy right now, and then I could just show you. I'm trying to think of something. Unfortunately, I don't have anything handy right now that I can show you within those dimensions, because I'm kind of like, demonstration is not a way to teach, it's the only way to teach. So unfortunately, I don't have one of those, but hopefully you can kind of follow with me. And the main thing is obviously when I'm taking a picture, so I will show you here in a moment on this hat. The main thing is like what you can see here on this, and believe it or not, I have noticed, especially on eBay, where this isn't too exaggerated, there'll be all of this open space around. You want to try to focus in as much as you can to drown out a lot of that surrounding space, because the main thing is details. Even adjusting the angle where you stand out. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but if you can imagine, maybe even with your rolling pin, rather than going, let's say, straight on like that, you kind of come at an angle too. Sometimes that can help stand out over others. So you're kind of going at like a diagonal, but you're taking the picture straight on this way, if that makes sense. The main thing is just playing around with it. And this is also something I used to use many years ago, is maybe even send it to a few family and friends, with some of those bigger items, just to kind of get their feedback. Maybe that's something you have tried. That's a suggestion as well, to see, hey, is this something that would stand out, if you're happen to be searching, because again, with a rolling pin, it could be a bit difficult to try to stand out from others. Even if you have title, pricing, everything is on point, just because, there may be a lot of that similar item. But like with hats, for instance, what I love doing is I take and I play around with it. Sometimes the main photo is I may end up going this direction. But what I like to do is even tilt it a little bit. I think it looks sharp. I think it looks clean. It helps me at least stand out a little bit from others, because what you commonly see is straight on, and it kind of just depends on the hat too. But I will also do that with other items as well. Obviously, I take essentially a full panoramic view of this, and that's one thing that's crazy to me is, you know, eBay gives you the option to take several pictures. Pictures, in my opinion, are one of the easiest things to do. It's very quick, especially once you get a rhythm going. I think pictures are ultimately what sell an item over anything else. It's no different than a thumbnail. If you're looking at your favorite YouTuber or whatever the case might be, and they happen to put out some dramatic thumbnail to get your attention before you even look at the title. So I look at the same thing as far as my pictures. And again, sometimes you have to play around with it. But great question. I appreciate it very much. This is why I love you guys. Anybody that's been following this channel for any period of time, you know, it was formerly Sergeant Tank. We used to hang out like this, you guys. If anybody is new to the channel, I greatly appreciate it. If you happen to find us just by the namesake, I really do appreciate it. We have been on the platform actively since 2016, obviously before that. But if you guys aren't aware, we did run Sergeant Tank LLC, which was essentially a global brand in the sense that we pride ourselves on in the ornamental fish keeping trade. So rather than seeing stuff like this, what we would be doing is we would be taking pictures of live fish that we homebred within our home aquaria and provide all throughout the country. So I appreciate y'all very much. We are excited. We have been actively now on eBay since full-time since fall of last year. There was a bit of hiatus I had there because I had some surgery done, but we are excited to get back here on social media. I am looking forward to really doing this as a test, y'all, because I want to start getting back into the rhythm of doing live auctions too, and that's something I used to do in the past with ornamental fish. And now having so many different options between Whatnot, between District, between various platforms, and when it comes to live reselling, it's like riding a bike. You kind of get back into the flow of it. I love, I love this engagement. I love to be able to interact with you guys and hopefully provide some insight in that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I really do appreciate it. I'll be taking some drinks of coffee here with you, but I've already had quite a bit today, so I can't lie. I've already had my cup of coffee. I was running a little bit late, so just bear with me. I got some water over here, and let's go ahead and just start kicking things off. I'm going to just start knocking some of these out while I'm paying attention to hopefully chat here. If you could see my layout, you would understand kind of what's going on. I got kind of cables running everywhere, so it's not the most ideal of a setup, but I wanted to test this. It looks like streaming quality and everything seems to be running pretty smooth, which I'm happy about, because ultimately, before I can really start getting into doing like live auctions again, I need to ensure that our live streaming is up to par. So what I'm doing now, you guys, and kind of walk through this, and I'll go through this in a lot more detail at some point. Once I get my software up and going, I'm having issues right now with our computer. So eventually I'm going to have to invest in a better PC. But just run off my laptop. It's just not wanting to cooperate with me, of course, when it comes to doing any sort of video editing. So at some point in the future, I do want to get back into doing some video editing, and then I could really just be concise, direct, and to the point. It'll just make it a lot easier to try to provide more feedback when it comes to doing research, when it comes to looking up an item. So I apologize about that. Really don't have the means right now to show you guys necessarily what I'm doing. But if you can imagine, the main thing that I'm doing right now is just a lot of this item over time as you get more familiar with it. I kind of already have an idea of what something like that would go for. But you want to find your overall supply versus your demand. So oftentimes people can get confused. Is if you're going outsource, anybody that knows this, and they're like, oh, those go for, $25, and I'm just throwing out a number. Well, is that $25 listed, or is that your demand? Okay, look at demand as you're sold. So oftentimes individuals get confused between what I would classify as listing comps versus sold comps. The most important one is your demand. So within the last 90 days on eBay, essentially, if it was actually selling for $25, then fair enough. However, if there's a million of them listed for, $25, that don't mean anything to me. So again, it's up to us, obviously, when we're outsourcing, to ensure that we do our due diligence and make sure it is. That's what I love so much about sourcing. It doesn't matter how many estate sales you go to. It doesn't matter how many garage sales, yard sales, rummage sales, whether if you're doing retail arbitrage, whatever the case might be, you're always learning something new. And that's what I love about it. We've been in and around reselling for many, many years now. However, more on a full-time basis, like I said, since last year. But it's something that my wife and myself have enjoyed doing together, just on the side. All right. So I'm looking up right now, you guys, on this specific one. I'm just looking at what is my supply right now. What am I competing with? So if you can imagine, I'm using my phone. So just kind of show you there. I'm using my phone, and what I'm looking for is something similar to this. There may be something just like it. The first thing, you can also use AI. You can use Google Images, whatever form you want to, if you're not finding anything directly on eBay. Since that's predominantly where we're selling currently, is on eBay. That's the platform I need to use. That's my source. So that's what I'm competing with ultimately. This is a used hat, so of course what I want to do is put in used. And then what I'm doing is just scrolling through and then looking to see, as far as, I like to look at both listed, what am I competing with as far as supply, and then my demand, what is actually sold in the last 90 days. Is there anything like it? Does this one stand out? Is it more unique? At that point, if I'm still not finding information, you can look at the tag. I can look at the number in there. I can look and see. I can run that. You could also Google Lens it and see what happens to come up. And you may have to manually type it in too. So let me take a peek here at chat, you guys. I'm hoping chat pops up for me. But let me go here. Okay, looks like I have everything. I'm on. I apologize, you guys, if I happen to miss any comments. So. All right. Looks like I'm caught up. So let's get back to it. So what I like to also check is other e-commerce sites outside of eBay. What am I competing with? Are you competing with Amazon, Walmart, other major brand retailers out there? Because again, I like to factor all that in to make sure that you're not undercutting, but also not devaluing what it is that you have into your item as well. So if you price something too low, that could be a red flag, and if obviously you go too high, that could also cause some issues there. So you kind of want to find a happy place. What I tend to like to do is find what my overall demand, look at my supply, and then make a determination of based on sell-through rate, what is sold in the last 90 days, what's an appropriate evaluation for the specific item that I'm trying to put up, and then probably come under that. You can always play around with it, but maybe come under by 10-15%. And I personally like to use my phone when I'm listing. I know some individuals like to do batched, and they put everything in a drive. They might download it onto a computer. They might just run it through their computer that way. I personally find it more efficient for myself and what I'm doing here just by using my phone. I can do it just as fast. Then we have another hat. Here as well, another John Deere. That one actually looks never even be used. Still has the insert in it. You can see up here, I notice, so I'm always very careful. So on the bill or the brim here, look at condition. I try to stay away from unless I'm lotting them together. On the inside, how easy it is to clean. Do I need to clean it? The main thing is you don't want to over sell anything. In my opinion, you want the customer to be pleasantly surprised. So when they end up receiving an item, even something like this, let's say it may be hard to show up on here. But again, based on lighting, it's a very, very small, little cosmetic darkening right here, right on the brim in the corner. And I would point that out. So what I like to use is something like this. So let me grab some indicator, besides your hand. What I like to use, just a little tool like this. It's just a box cutter. And I'll point it out. I'll do something like that. And obviously, if you can imagine with your phone or your camera, to try to show, where a blemish may be, where a defect may be, and point all of that stuff out. Because the main thing, obviously, when you're selling on eBay, you want to make sure that you be over transparent on what it is. Because the last thing you want is if you don't point that out, and even though you classify as a pre-owned item, you may end up creating a defect for yourself. So again, it's always better, in my opinion, to stay on the side of caution and just be as transparent as possible, just like if they were there in person and looking at the item. Yes, people can be that picky, believe it or not. And to me, it's all about preventative measures versus reactionary. So what I mean by that, just because of my background and what I used to do for many years outside of this, was all based on prevention. So how can I go above and beyond as a seller to maintain my top rated status, to ensure I'm not creating, because again, yes, you know, if you end up getting a neutral feedback, whatever the case might be, things can happen, but the last thing that you want is to not share it. And I'm sure that there's plenty of resellers out there that may look at this and think, what the heck, you know, what are you even seeing? And to me, that's kind of what separates us maybe from others. Everybody's business model is different. You know, it's not throwing shade at any specific person at all, or, you know, company. That's just how I've always ran things. That's just how we'll continue to do it here. I think being over transparent, because if it shows up in for instance, I'm pointing that out. Let's say there's a little mark over here or something like that in this lighter area, and it ends up showing up in person, and they're like, wait a minute, it really isn't that bad. Hey, I can clean it. A lot of times what they end up doing is actually sending a positive feedback or private message, you know, messaging you through the platform, being like, hey, I really appreciate, you know, it showed up so much better. And we've had a few situations like that, where with various products, that's exactly what happened. They end up leaving positive feedback due to the fact that it actually showed up so much better in their opinion, even though that it looked great to them on the photo. And that's our intent. That's what we're trying to do. We want them to be more impressed, I guess you would say, when they end up receiving the item. But great question. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm also super picky too. So when I'm sourcing, there's some times where, you know what, I'm just going to have to not list it. You know, I end up getting it back. It's just not wanting to come clean. There's just too many cosmetic blemishes, too many defects that may, and usually that comes from a sourcing standpoint. Don't just go out, source, and obtain an item to obtain it just so you can have something to list. Make sure that you're looking at good quality items. You know, the individual that we obtain a group of these from, one of the hats I'm actually keeping, we end up obtaining both of these John Deere, and, you know, overall really, really good condition. I love the camo on that one. I was thinking about actually maybe keeping, and that's one of the hard things too. Anybody that knows, when you're outsourcing, you got to separate your own personal interest from what it is that you end up listing on your store. But yeah, I do enjoy both of these hats. I may end up keeping this one. I'm not sure. But yeah. I didn't get a whole lot of time this past weekend. Just working on stuff around the home and just had to get some stuff done. But so unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to really get out and do a ton of sourcing like I wanted to. Hopefully I can do that this week. Fingers crossed. And but yeah, so I'm just kind of going through what we would call quote unquote death pile stuff. If anybody's ever heard of that term, you know what I mean, in the reselling world. Still items obviously that can turn. I'm not a huge. I know that there's definitely a niche for it when it comes to hats, unless they're really good. You know, really good pristine condition. You know, I have purchased off from auctions online and stuff like, and again, it just goes so fast. That's kind of just reiterates the importance of during auctions, spend a little bit more time in due diligence to ensure really good close-ups, beautiful lighting, point out anything. I get that folks are just trying to turn and burn when it comes to auctions. But again, I was a bit dissatisfied when I ended up getting a lot. I think we ended up obtaining like about 25, 30. And unfortunately, only about a quarter of those were even sellable due to the fact they more or less oversold it. Wasn't too happy on that. But again, it's not like we're going to go out of our way and leave negative feedback. We understand, what we get into when it comes to that. That's why I prefer, me personally, just from doing this for so long, is to source in person, so I can actually engage, I can network, I can talk with the individuals, which I enjoy to do, and be able to actually pick it up and see it. That's just me personally. That's maybe why I go, above and beyond when it comes to even minor things like that, which probably don't even show up on camera, because I just want, again, to make sure that the end user, ultimately the customer, is essentially oversatisfied with their item. So I can show you. So these are some more hats here. Again, when you're purchasing things on a lot, it doesn't mean that these are of any quality. Many of these I wouldn't even obtain, in person, just because I know the sell-through, they're just not going to move. But they don't really show up on too well on camera here on live, but there's some condition issues. So we have that one. This one here, I'm looking at the brim. Obviously, the inside, is it something I can spot clean? How much time is going to go into it? That sort of stuff. Always like foam, like trucker hats. Kind of a random. This one isn't too bad. So yeah, just going through and looking. Condition. The embroidery. How's the stitching? How's the stitching around the brim? Any stains, condition issues? It's kind of a cool O'Reilly's hat. You can see here, though, on that one, there's a lot of, you can tell, just sweat, a lot of stain. Overall, condition-wise, the outside, it's pretty good. Little bit right here. So again, that's all things I would point out. I would be looking at all the stitching. I can't tell you how many times, especially on clothes, that can be overlooked. Let's see. Get to the questions, you guys. Just bear with me. I'm not currently looking at the chat. Yeah, things dropping on me. So, where was I going with that? Completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, so obviously I'm looking at condition, looking at the embroidery. Obviously looking at brands, and that sort of thing. Because some of them are just, that's what I'm trying to get at. So that's why you have to just know your hats, look into it. If you're not sure as far as brands, looking at the tags, and that sort of thing. But yeah. So far, honestly, you know, these ones here are pretty good, but you want to be, again, obviously transparent on all of this. Put it in your description as well. I'll even put in the title, read and see photos. That way nobody can come back. I find most of the time if there's ever an issue, as long as the seller does what they need to on their end, it comes down to the buyer 100%. They're not doing their part as far as reading item specifications, actually reading specifics. Is it a certain size? If it's if it's an item where it needs to be measured, show the measurements. Looking at the size on the hat, does it state one size? Be transparent in all of that. Again, you can see on the inside of this one. Obviously, looking at the outside, again, condition. Not a little foam hat here. It's like probably won't even list that one. Here's another one, sport cap. Looks to be some golf course. Legacy Athletic. This one seems to be in overall pretty decent condition. And then these are kind of a popular one. There can be a lot of them out there. They don't go for a ton, but the life is good. So that's one to keep an eye out for. Again, it's not like, depending again, what embroidery is on the front. Make sure it's an actual, not a knockoff. Verify all of that. So overall condition on this one, there's a little bit of a staining right here. Almost looks like a little bit of a rest mark, I would classify it as. Same thing here on the brim. Sometimes there's things that you can do as far as spot cleaning those. You just got to be careful. So if I was going to list that one, obviously point that out, and then you would have to deduct, factor that in, when you're pricing it. So, and then this one here. Yeah. Like trucker hat. Yeah. I would probably end up staying personally away from if I was sourcing. Again, these came as a lot, you guys. To each their own. Like I said, I don't get too much. There is a niche out there for sure when it comes to hats. But if without even looking at, obviously I would have to do my due diligence and look at comps. But my guess would be, and we can look this up, here in a second. This one here would roughly go, because of these minor condition issues. And I'll verify that. I like to kind of test myself, play a game on that, see how close I am. So, haven't looked anything up yet. And I'm going to say this one here, it's been a little bit. It's going to probably fall because of the condition issues in that $12.99 to $16.99 range. So let me see how close. Again, this is a pre-owned. So we're going to go ahead and just use our eBay image search here. And you can see here. So what I'm going to do is actually go condition used. And then I'm looking obviously for that one. See if there's anything at all like it listed. We'll go to now sold down here. So that's our demand. So in the last 90 days, anything at all like that. So I did notice actually a couple of these. So I was pretty close to being on, but unfortunately that's if it's new. So there is a couple of these listed new classified for $12.99 to $14.99 plus ship. So wasn't too far off, but again, unfortunately, that's new, and there's none here that I'm seeing that have sold in the last 90 days with that specific. But if you look up Life is Good, so for instance, if I'm outsourcing, let's say, and bear with me just a second. If I'm outsourcing and let's say I'm looking at a Life is Good at just in general, like that brand. Go ahead and put Life is Good hat. Let's see. So you can see, just without being too specific, if I'm just looking at Life is Good, these are some of the lower end ones that have sold in the last 90 days. Again, that's pre-owned, so it's a different design. I just have seen the Life is Good. I've seen that kind of when I've been looking before. Here's a couple more, $9.95, 11. So not like a money maker, that's for sure. And this one here is Pathway I think I have looked into this one before. Didn't really find too much on it. But these can go, like, sometimes if you can find what catches my eye personally are like certain what do you want to say, like fast food places, that sort of thing. Those could be a decent one. My eye just naturally appeals to that over like sports teams and so forth. But like these O'Reilly, they're not big money makers. I have looked into this one before, but it's been quite some time. And this would be a vintage here. You can just tell by looking at it. But the main issue is just, to some it may turn off, it's can be a bit challenging to try to, even spot clean that. But they're kind of all over the place. They go anywhere from 12 to $20 or so listed. And again, that's your supply. We look at our demand. And one exactly like this, I don't even see any that have sold in the last 90 days. Similar comps. So now what I would have to be competing with is that supply. You know, ones that have the orange, the O'Reilly Auto Parts there. It is embroidered. So again, not a big money maker, that's for sure. Personally, I'm not a huge fan, like I said, of hats. I'm just happen to show them because I had a lot of them that we end up obtaining. So, you know, I could always offload that if I wanted to, and I suppose I could add to it and do the same thing at some point, which I very well might, and just sell them super cheap as a lot, you know. To some, they may appeal more, where somebody might, you know, sometimes these can be items that might do better depending on your demographic within like a booth. So like in a flea mall, antique mall, that sort of thing. Maybe you go to flea markets and you sell, let's say on the weekends, that sort of thing. These may end up appealing more to that crowd than to maybe like ourselves, or if you're, you know, looking at trying to sell hats on eBay. And then we have, you know, something like this that I was able to obtain from an estate sale. This is brand new. Auburn University. Really nice scarf. So that, you know, especially coming into, you know, the winter season here in the U.S., that might be a good one to list on there. So sometimes I'll just wait, depending on the time of the year, and I would also recommend that, you know, where you may need a stockpile certain items based on seasonal. You know, if it's Christmas decor, if it's, you know, clothing items, if you know, if it's Halloween, Thanksgiving, because even right now, and how you figure and determine that is just look around. You know, when you go to the stores yourself, without even looking online to see kind of where the market is being driven, is you can see people are already putting out Christmas stuff, and they have been. And we're not even to Halloween or Thanksgiving yet. So you see that year after year. And that will kind of be a driving factor in your determination. Should you be looking at, and when should you be looking at listing coming up, you know, on those holidays. And, you know, now that we're in the fourth quarter, you know, essentially October 1st, it's important to keep that stuff in mind. That's too funny. We are not biased here. We originally just moved down from Michigan here to good old Alabama, 2022. So I personally myself, I when folks look at me, I think they just automatically assume you must be a sports guy. The funny thing is with that, I really don't care too much about, you know, sports where I'm biased one way or another. You know, I have other interest in, you know, that specific category just isn't one of them. But what we do here is we just try to be open opportunity. So, I mean, if I know I can obtain something like this, I know these can go for around, you know, 25 to 35. But when it comes to certain hats, you know, again, that one there, you know, if I want to list it, probably list it for around $9.99. And then a lot of these other ones, just based on condition and that sort of thing, when you're competing, if you're looking at a hat, you're competing with, a million other ones. Am I really going to be, I guess for me selling, a $9.99 item, really, because I do value my time. Obviously, right now I'm just hanging out with y'all and chit chatting, and I appreciate it. But I would have already gone through, if I'm not focused on doing this, I would have already banged out at this point. We've been going for, oh gosh, a little over 50 minutes. I would have easily already had probably 20 items done just on my phone. So, and then we enjoy, toys and that sort of stuff too. But this guy is pretty cool. So I look in here again. I'm checking everything. Obviously, make sure it works. I check on the inside of the mouth. That needs to be just cleaned up a little bit. Again, I'm always looking for condition. I've already opened this up. I've already tested it. It is in testing and working order. So, I just back the screw out. I take pictures of the inside. And then obviously we don't ship it with batteries. So we just always make sure that we make it very clear that batteries are not included. We just use them for testing. Make sure if the contacts have any type of corrosion, that's always fully transparent. Obviously, it's operational. And if you can get photographs with movement to show, and this is kind of an opportunity too I want to share, is when it comes to video games. This is something I don't know if anybody else is doing. Maybe I just don't really care to pay attention too much of what others are doing out there, just because to me it's kind of common sense. But and I get people can fudge this and it goes both ways. But just from the standpoint of if you can imagine, you're testing a video game, take a picture of your screen and crop it in from the startup menu, getting into the mode of the game, whatever the case might be. Because the more transparency you have within those photos that align with your description, item specifications, and that is only going to help you more. It's no different if I'm using, let's say if I'm selling something where I'm going to use like a multimeter, I'll actually show that in the picture. I'm going to show it connected. So if I'm listing, let's say, like a battery maintainer or that sort of thing, I'm actually showing it hooked up to the battery. I'm showing what's happening. I'm showing all the lights. No different than like a decor item. If it's one that plugs in and it lights up, take a picture of it. The more you can share with individuals, the better. And I'm just a firm believer on that. That has helped us greatly, especially when it comes to video games. I feel that I don't know of any other, they say it's in working condition, but you also want to be able to back it up. We do not. I've played around with the offer settings. I personally, this is me. I guess being in the retail and customer service setting for over 3 decades, I'm not going to say it's a patience thing. It's just, I'm going to reserve. That is a great question, a topic that we can definitely talk about, that I'll probably get into. Anybody that's been following me, especially on the previous channel, knows I used to get into my little rant modes because it's just fun. It's all in good fun, and that's what we're here to do, is also provide a little bit of humor along the way. I make fun of myself enough as it is, but it's not calling out any specific individual, any specific entity. It's just, when it comes to offers, to me, the way I look at it, we try to be so competitive and so fair based on the market value of an item that no, I'm not going to take an offer. Now, we will send out offers. We will. And it's not one of those plus 10 less 5 discounts, as I would call it. And that's what you can find oftentimes with other resellers too, is where they end up bumping the price in order just to offset it by reducing it by sending out an offer. We do on occasion send out offers. Actually quite a bit. We will send out offers. We do discount codes. and we haven't got together like a marketing campaign yet, like we did with the Sergeant Tank, our previous business, when it comes to having like an email and a contact list. We haven't started that yet. Right now, I'm just trying to build reputation here through social media before I start getting into that. But what I mean by that, from that point of view, is um, is sending out emails, not to spam people with emails, but to give them some sort of value. So if that's value through an educational video, if that's value through sending out in conjunction with a good discount. I typically like to send out, 10, 15% discount codes. And that is something, obviously, as we start to kind of regain some traction here on YouTube and other various social media platforms, from transitioning from Sergeant Tank over to Crosshill Resellers, is something I will start to drive. Because, again, I've always been transparent in the fact that I want to hang out. I want to be able to educate, provide some inspiration, provide some insight, provide humor. Obviously, a little bit of an entertainment value that comes along with it. And there's a lot of ideas I have when it comes to be able to share various aspects of this. And I really am looking forward to that journey. And again, it definitely comes with its challenges. Again, we are not new to the business aspect at all. It's just what we're trying to do now is just get our name out there more. Who would it, just like we were with Sergeant Tank. And again, that unfortunately comes with a lot of grind. Anybody that was following us on Sergeant Tank before it transitioned over knows the amount of work that I personally put into it. I mean, between collaborations, between so many different live streams, so much educational. I mean, I'm talking thousands of hours, literally, of time. A lot of sleepless nights, and I enjoy that journey, and we are looking forward to starting something fresh, something new. You're still going to get me. You're still going to get the same individual. It just may look a little bit different outside of fish keeping. And I have no problem, you guys. In these type of situations, if you guys are here and you have any fish related questions for me, obviously, if you came from Sergeant Tank and you're still following along with us, I greatly appreciate it. And if you are new, I also greatly appreciate it. Just bear with us as we work through any technical aspects. Just know I'm a fully transparent individual, and I'm looking forward to this. In my gratitude, again, I would encourage you to go check it out if you are interested. It's about an 8-minute edited video I put out a couple of weeks ago. It gives a little bit of background, some insight onto the changes of the channel and kind of what has transpired. It might make a little bit more sense, but I'm not going to get into that here. And this would be an opportunity, though, you guys. It doesn't have to be just on items or what's in the title. This would probably actually be a perfect opportunity when I'm doing different things like this. And I want your guys' feedback. Is this something that you can just put on in the background? Is this something that you guys enjoy listening to? What is it that you guys want to get out of it? What is it that you guys want to hear? Because the more feedback as you start to build, and again, I've been on YouTube for so many years, and it definitely can come with its challenges. But ultimately, I want to make sure that we are appealing to the vast majority. We want to make sure that we are providing some form of course, entertainment value, but also this is more geared around educational content. Not new. I'm a killie breeder, but I am also woodworker, mechanist, general weekend warrior, in addition to 95. Yep. Right there with you. Love the trades. My idea of bouncing around so many different aspects of this, and what I would like to do, on this channel. It's so hard because it can be so diverse, but there's so much I could share when it comes to just about every trade aspect that you can think of, from plumbing to carpentry to electrical to woodworking to metals to plastics to mechanical type of stuff, automobiles. It's just something I grew up around and been in and around my entire life, outside of retail and business. But yeah, we work with definitely our fair share of killifish, that I can tell you. Killies were more the non-annual killies. One of our biggest videos that I have on YouTube that is still there and available is a Aphisumia australe. It's the orange leer tail, and that was one of my favorite lineage. They're just an absolutely beautiful specimen. But I work with my fair share of both, between annual and non-annual. It's kind of like riding a bike, obviously. I don't want to say it sounds a bit foreign talking about that, but there's still quite a bit of scientific names I remember. Obviously, anybody that's been following me knows I used to absolutely nerd out and enjoy all aspects, especially when it came to fish breeding. That was one of my biggest passions, outside of growing the hobby. Obviously, using therapeutic measures to grow the hobby through the means of aquatic organisms. And it's definitely something I pride myself on personally. I have several awards that I've won, in the past for various competitions and breeding and diversification awards and you name it. So it definitely brings back a lot of great memories for sure. And and I'm not just saying that to say it. Anybody that's met me in person, in the aquatic fish keeping hobby, I truly am very appreciative, and I truly hope that everybody is doing amazingly well. And if you're not, I hope that your days do get better. And that was one of the biggest drivers for me, getting into actually putting out content, from being in and around the fish keeping hobby since I was a child, and to bring that to globally, just meeting all around the world, just some amazing individuals, and also face to face. So yeah, definitely no regrets at all. I hope nobody ever looked at it that way. At this point in my life, though, obviously, fish keeping is, I don't want to say I've lost all interest in it. But to be completely honest, I was even talking with my wife about this the other day. Is I don't know truly if I would ever get back into it. I mean, it was an absolute grind when you're working over 150 active systems within your own home aquaria to try to produce. When you don't have a large fish farm, it can make it very challenging. I was very successful in it. Provided a lot of rare lineage, and I hope that I still know that there's folks that still have that lineage to this day. And you're talking, probably 10-15 years, that there's been lineage out there that between line breeding, it's just, I mean, so too many memories. Lady from the American Killifish Association recently went to Uruguay to collect, managed to get 3, trying to see. Oh, hold on. I got to tilt my screen if you guys can see what I'm looking at right now. All right. Hold on. Now I can actually see it. It's at the very bottom's getting cut off. Okay. A lady from the American, or AKA American Killifish Association, recently went to Uruguay to collect and managed to get 3 Australobius species from that trip. So it's all cold water annuals. That's awesome. Yeah. Very, very cool. One of the things, is having in the market, being originally from Michigan, I just had the opportunity to obtain so many rare lineage of killifish from Gudaids that I was working with, trying, there was a couple of us within the country that were really working some very, very limited strains to reintroduce as far as overall conservation and preservation of various species within the Godaids. And by far is one of my favorite group of live bears to work with. Some of them can come with their challenges, but I personally work with, I want to say it was over 25 different species. And it again, I can't remember all the names right now, but a little bit rusty on that. But yeah, it's nice to still talk about. But great dialogue, y'all. I appreciate it. Bringing back some memories for me, that's for sure. So, all I'm doing right now, I didn't get a whole lot as far as listening, but I appreciate it. So I know tomorrow, at least, kind of process elimination of what I'm going to end up listening, just by looking at some of these here. And then these, like I said, I'm probably going to honestly just group. Yeah, like you can see there. Probably just group these in a lot. And then we have stuff like this. You know, we love our stuffed animals or plushes. You know, an easy one to ship. That one right there, you know, they're really, really good condition. So these don't go for a whole lot, but some, you know, I can probably get that off. Just a little bit of residue on there, but I always check everything out really, really good. Yeah, that's one that we carry quite often because you can always find them. It's a Build-A-Bear. Don't get too caught up though on Build-A-Bear. Just because it's Build-A-Bear doesn't mean it's going to be, you know, a gold mine by any means. But I just always want to check around, look for stains. You know, is anything that needs to be sewn? Which I can show you an example of that here in a second. So what's nice with these these Buckies is they are machine washable. Really, really turned out really good, almost like brand new. But I noticed on this specific one, we have 4 of them in total. The other ones are drying right now. So just let them air dry. Put a fan in front of it, and they turn out amazing. So I'm always transparent with that too in the listing. Just let them know that they've been washed. Just because I washed them, you know, don't try, you know, never try to fudge that. Still mark it as pre-owned, obviously. And then here though, you can see this I'll be able to fix. One thing, you know, I can do is I can sew, so I won't have an issue with that. So I'll get this fixed. And then I'm always transparent with that as well. Just let them know. Again, I'll just point it out in the listing, something like that. Just let them know, you know, it's been hand sewn there as a correction in the stitching. Just so they can, you know, nobody can ever come back and say anything. But yeah, I mean, we find all kinds of stuff, you guys. We deal with anywhere from new to vintage. I mean, I got tons. If you guys are curious, you can check us out at Crosshill Resellers on eBay. All the links are within the videos these recent videos in the about section. And like I said, we will, especially coming up here, start going through. I got to do that this week. Go through some of our inventory. I'll start probably putting it on discount. Sometimes that can run anywhere from 15 to 25%. But we have some pretty cool items on there. Quite a few rare stuff too, stuff that you're just not going to find, um, a whole lot of. And then we find stuff like this. A lot of times at estate sales, you're going to come across, some unique. This is a gourd, really cool. But again, it does have some condition issues. You can see here and here. So is that something I can fix up? Again, anything that I do touch up and fix up like that, I would just, again, even after the fix, I would just go ahead and use some type of pointer, put it in the description, and then in the title, I always put read and see photos. Just lets the potential customer know that they need to look into it a little bit more. But these can go, in pretty good condition. They can be up there between 20 and $30 or so plus shipping, depending on the artwork. I wish I had like a intermission thing I can put here. Just bear with me, you guys. Give me about 4 to 5 minutes. We're going to take a quick intermission. I wish I had like a little thing to pop up. Unfortunately, I'm not on that part. I'm on the other part of my shop, so I can't transition. So I apologize about that. But give me about 4 or 5 minutes. So if you guys want to grab a drink or whatever, I'm going to come back out. We'll hang out for a little bit longer. I'll probably bring the camera back onto me, and we'll wrap things up here in a while. But again, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Think of any other questions that you may have, and if you guys happen to be hanging out in the chat, I appreciate it. If anybody pops in here and they're wondering what the heck happened, just let them know. I'll be back here in very, very shortly. So I'll give you guys something to look at here. I suppose you can look at that guy. All right, you guys. I am back. Give me just a moment here. I got to make a quick transition from the photo booth over to my studio area. So just bear with me. Audio and video will go out for just a moment, but I will not go anywhere. Well, if you guys want to, these are the other Buckies that we will be listing. I feel like I'm doing a stage reset. If you guys are just chiming in, bear with me. I'm going to be transitioning the camera here over to my studio area. So I'm kind of doing like a whole stage reset here on the fly. So the camera will be going out here for a moment. I am almost there, you guys. Just bear with me. All right. That was fun. Went to Buc-ee's once. Never seen so many beef jerky flavors. I know, right? I'm not a huge fan of the food. I think it's one of those situations like, is it overrated, appropriately rated, or underrated? So, I don't know. To each their own. I would say when it comes to, as far as like, when it comes to smoked like pork, man, the best pulled pork. Maybe it might just be the bias in me, but I am a stickler for a good smoked, especially like an Applewood, a good smoked Applewood pulled pork, or even a pulled chicken. But love pulled pork. Was up in Michigan. Yeah, there's this place not too far from where our house is at, and they've been around. They're still around to this day, and you could just smell it for miles. So even now down here in Alabama, I tried a couple of different places, and it just don't hit the same. Also up in Michigan, northern portion, there was this cold smoked salmon. It was off the beaten path, pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. And it was just the best cold smoked salmon. But yeah, good old Buc-ee's. Why don't we put this guy up here for now till I get you fixed? Where do we want to put you? Right up here by the minion. The toilets were clean, the burgers were awesome, the fries were awesome. We were driving from Delaware to Tuscaloosa to see the kid in college. Buc-ee's was a good stop. Yeah, I know a lot of folks enjoy it. We we will hit it up. It's not far from us. We got a couple of different locations that we can hit up, and it's always fun, of course, to go in there. It's kind of one of those attractions. I guess maybe just being down here, we have the means to pretty much go whenever we want. It just don't hit the same. But a couple of times I had the food. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't anything, honestly, that too extravagant. But maybe it was just what I ended up having at the time. But what I will say as far as the bathrooms in my opinion were just immaculate. No complaints there at all. I mean, when it comes to the cleanliness, absolutely no complaints whatsoever. They got it going on there, that's for sure. But I don't know if my kids are still in the background. It's so weird going from 80 to 100 concurrent viewers to 3. I'm just used to having lots of action. But again, it comes. We have seen. I knew that would be the case. After making the transition, pretty big dip in overall, subscribers to the channel, which is completely reasonable, and a little unfortunate at the same time, but totally understandable. And sometimes the algorithm can do that too. Sometimes, these stagnant accounts, as you would call it on YouTube, can kind of be what we would call like a purge back when, if they're just stale accounts, meaning, they could be, just accounts that have been on the platform for a while and just not being used. I've seen that before, and I know others I've talked to in the past has also seen that. So it's kind of like one of those roller coaster rides where you'll see like a dip and then you'll see an influx. Reselling is not a very entertaining topic. Yeah, I know, right? I know, like, the channels out there that are going to, in my opinion, that are going to excel in that, from that point of view, are going to be the ones that are actually going out and sourcing, where they have like a GoPro strap to them. They're going to rummage sales, or going to garage sales, estate sales. That's just not something I'm going to do, personally. Not my cup of tea. I appreciate the ones that are, creating that entertainment value there, when it comes to that, but it's just not, I still respect enough, I guess, when it comes to privacy and that sort of thing. But that live streaming format and the engagement like this, that's always been more appealing to myself personally. I've always enjoyed talking on the fly. I've always enjoyed more, but again, I know it's called YouTube for a reason. So it's not about myself. It's about you all as the viewers. And I totally understand and respect that. But again, I know it's going to come with some bumps in the road to try to figure out, first of all, how can you provide in a reselling niche entertainment value in conjunction with educational value? And that's the big question. That's why I think auction formats, when it comes to live selling, is one, especially like through Whatnot, Whatnot in conjunction with streaming on YouTube or whatever other social media platform that they're streaming on, can be very beneficial, because now you see it, and you see the move, especially with the luxury of somebody being at home and having the opportunity just to essentially have like a virtual assistant in that sense, doing their shopping for them. And that would be like myself or whoever it is on that platform that's showing everything live, going through it. They can ask questions. It creates some sense of engagement, creates some sense of entertainment value, especially if you have like a quirky behavior. I've seen where some people dress up in a costume or whatever the case might be. Not going to happen here, that I can tell you. So that's just something that we'll just have to figure out as we move along. And of course, when we get feedback from you all on what would create some form of entertainment value, because again, trying to transition from Sergeant Tank to Crosshill Resellers here on YouTube is going to come with a learning curve, because again, every channel is different in that sense. It doesn't matter how long you've been on the platform doing it, especially when you're changing different niches, like you stated, as far as not really being an entertaining topic. And I totally understood that, because there was a big part of me, it's like, do I even use YouTube at all? Do I transition? Do I open, up a new channel? Do I start something new? And, there's a lot of thought that went into it. And I just made the determination this time, because I can keep Sergeant Tank up. I can keep all the branding up. But if I'm not engaged at all on that channel, meaning this channel, what's the point? At that point, it's not benefiting anyways. I mean, the channel to me became demonetized back in 2021 due to inactivity, even though they're still running ads on the videos. So yeah, I mean, putting literally years and hundreds of hours into a channel, and then having to make that unfortunate decision to go ahead and dissolve and start something different didn't come without a lot of thought, that's for sure. And that's why anybody up to this point, if you're listening, I would encourage you to check out that video I put out. It's a short video, edited video, gives a little bit of just a tiny backstory into having to make that unfortunate decision after the move. A little bit of the reasons why, but But yeah, so I mean, the more feedback, especially as we move forward, as I mentioned before, I do want to utilize the community or the post section, which used to be community on YouTube. Um, when you go on somebody's landing page, it'll show post. Again, used to be community, and then that's where we will share any updates. As far as I did actually remember to do it this time, where I shared this live stream, excuse me, on there, and that's where I would be sharing any future communication when it comes to videos, when it comes to content, when it comes to any updates. I'm going to try to utilize that more, um, even if it's just to pop in and say hello. So if you guys want to engage, if you want to provide what you guys would like to see, just like when I started with the Sergeant Tank, it was no different. I'm going to treat it the same, respect those decisions, and try to come to a compromise where the vast majority wants to see as the channel again goes through its transition phase. And eventually I do feel confident we will come to a point as a community where we can find a happy ground. What is it that can provide entertainment along with some form of education? Because again, that to me, way back when, YouTube was just a place that you would just throw up. Essentially, that's your video portfolio that you'd use later on in life, where there's no monetization, nothing like that. And then it became a point where, let's use it as a, video archive to educational. My background has always been in some form of education and training, based on all the roles and positions I played in the past, working for multi-billion-dollar corporations, being self-employed, and that sort of thing. So my focus isn't necessarily just on entertainment. It's more focused on the aspects of education and how can we learn and grow together. Because even though it's not necessarily fish keeping related, I would hope some of the content on here, just like I shared the other day talking about shipping, how that can carry over from whatever you may be on. A lot of people now just do this on the side. eBay doesn't have to be a full-time thing; it can be a part-time thing. You may just have a few items laying around that you want to list. You may not have any idea where to begin. And I just know what I would like to see is more of direct and concise, to the point, cut out the fluff. And that's what I enjoyed to do before, and a lot of the positive feedback, on videos that I used to do with Sergeant Tank. And to be able to carry that over is to be able to provide, quick, but yet still, and that, again, that's the balance. How do you provide entertainment and overall engagement, as well as some type of education to go behind it. And I always try to keep that stuff in the back of my mind too. How can it carry over? It doesn't have to just be eBay. It doesn't have to just be this. It can also carry over into other aspects of business, customer service, and that sort of thing. So if anybody that is, I don't see that right now. I appreciate the interaction here, you guys. We've been going for about an hour and 40 minutes. I don't mind hanging out for a few minutes more, but I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. I usually just try to keep them at an hour, and then go from there. So, yeah, if you have any questions, please, like I said, community, even after this, please utilize the community section too on those videos. I would love to hear, if maybe you're just driving, you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I think that this would be an important topic to cover. I think this maybe you got some insight from watching somebody else, and you might feel that would be of interest to see my or our perspective on that. That's what I love to hear back, from you guys. So I definitely appreciate it. I was mostly on Etsy and then moved to my own WooCommerce, but the 9 to 5 has been taking up more than just 9 to 5, so I slowed down. Yeah, totally respect that there. I remember when I was working, as a salary manager for many years in a big company, and I was hustling on the side, way back then before I had all the home aquaria going. It was just our first. I talked about this years ago, but just as a quick recap, the initial fish room, which was much smaller, and then of course it had expanded over the years. But that was the big fish room, where I maintained the majority of the systems. Used to be just essentially all inventory, and at the time I was doing local, so I was just doing Craigslist. I got very good at Craigslist algorithm, SEO, understanding the back end of Craigslist, be able to actually get more traction on the platform. And back then we didn't have obviously phones to utilize. If you don't know what an item is, you have to just kind of go off from, or my wife and I would communicate back and forth. Hey, can you check this out for me? And you know what I'm saying, like before texting and all that too. So yeah, it definitely is a grind. It is a hustle. Anybody that knows, I mean, that's what I was saying earlier on. It's ever evolving. That's what I love about it so much. That's the fun part, and I think for most, and it should be the enjoyment part, when you're out there interacting with others. And I know the stigma that goes behind reselling and all of that. That's a topic for a different day. But if people truly understand reselling, really, it's everybody. But it's a fun process, and it should be, because it is a process. When you're out networking, especially, this is a completely different market. Of course, up in Michigan, I knew tons of different people. Down here, when you're dealing with a new market, the only way that you can learn, I've met some friends along the way and some individuals, and every time, whether if that's through sourcing on Facebook, if that's sourcing through local, if that's state companies, is they now recognize, and it's no different than what I used to do with Sergeant Tank. You got to put yourself out there. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm trying my best to practice what I preach, but I totally get it. Having 4 kids, the oldest, second year in college, and my youngest 10, it gets overwhelming. So, obviously family, as I've always said, is always first. And trying to balance that time in conjunction with hanging out on the YouTubes, on the interwebs, can definitely come with its challenges. But yeah, so I never even imagined, that I would be doing this, at this point in my life. I'm not going to share my backstory, literally, figuratively and literally speaking. Anybody that understands that reference, and knows more about my testimonial, and that would understand. But that again is out there. It's out there on the interwebs. It's on the YouTubes. I've shared that plenty of times. But yeah, so I would be not doing this, I can tell you, full time, for certain. But you had to get to a place in life, I guess, where you can try to find some sustainability, both financially and mentally. But yeah. But I am curious though about Etsy. So I've looked a bit into. I personally have never sold on Etsy. What were I'm trying to think how to put this. maybe that's a different topic. That might be a conversation for a different day when we have a little bit more time. But I would be curious to know. I haven't fully dived into that platform too much. Obviously, I'm very well aware of Etsy. But yeah, I would have to put together probably a more concise list of questions, because I always like to challenge and get feedback in that manner of what. And it's hard because I like various perspectives and that sort of thing too. To see, some individuals are like just go in on everything mentality. I've done that before in the past. Do you put your eggs all in one basket? Do you just go all in on eBay? Are you dealing with Akari, Poshmark, various platforms, Etsy, what have you? And really, I think it comes down to each business model. I don't feel that there is a one size fits all. I think it really comes down to uh, your niche. I think it comes down to what it is that your interest. Because again, if you run yourself too thin, and I've done that before, and then you just become too complacent. I feel, at least for myself. That's why right now, pretty much our time is being really devoted towards continuing to build reputation and brand around. I even met individual not too far from where we live. Finally found, and that was again one of those just small, maybe to some, it's not really a small thing, might be something bigger. To me, it's just kind of one of those very minute details. I could easily I create my own branding, just like I did with Sergeant Tank. If I need an artist to actually take my idea and put it, on something, as far as sketch something out. So then I can go in, I can improvise if I need to, I can incorporate that within a brand, in a product, just like I did with Sergeant Tank. I enjoy that aspect of it. So, with that being said, I was able to actually find somebody here locally that does directed garment printing, over like screen printing, which I used to use back when, with our old business, with the Sergeant Tank, and I'm excited about that. So eventually, hopefully, here in a week or so, you'll see the logo, and kind of, that's always exciting things too. When you start kind of creating product, it kind of makes it feel like, hey, is this a little bit more real type of situation. But really stand out, couple that's doing it, younger couple, been running the business now for a few years, a local business, which I love supporting local. I could go to easily, I could have gone in uh, to utilize one of my on demand fulfillment centers, via the interwebs, and I would just much prefer local. That's just me. Much more in person interaction. Made it very straightforward. Pretty simple process, I hope. Be able to have all those images and PNG files, all transparent, just pretty much mock-ups all ready to go. So pretty straightforward. To me, again, the way my mind works is just like, okay, here, this is what I'm looking at. Let's make it happen. So yeah, I'm excited about that. So hopefully, the end of this week, we'll get. They have to order in the shirts. We are going to be going with Army Green, which I'm or military green, which I'm looking forward to. It'll look really really sharp. When I showed the company, when I showed the designer, what I had, they're pretty impressed, and they thought it would look pretty sweet. So again, we're gonna give it a test run on the first couple here, and then go from there. But yeah, all right. So I make very unique niche items. I make let's see here. Yeah, what they want. Hold on. Oh, come on. Shows that we have 2 in here. Bear with me, you guys. Running a speed test right now. Speed test. Yeah, we have. Yeah, that's good. 21 up. Upload speed 22 megabytes. 21. Yeah, I'll take that. Let me pull up stream health here. Bear with me. Make sure my volume is muted. Okay. All right. Now it's the chat. You guys. Screens. I got 2 different screens. So I have StreamYards up here. And then I have over on my left side, I have the actual YouTube live running. And if you guys have ever used StreamYards, excuse me, as the chat scrolls, it will kind of bounce on you. But you can tell, you can probably hear it in my voice. I haven't been doing this like I used to. I mean, doing 8-hour live streams wasn't uncommon for me in a day. I used to be able to easily do 6-hour live streams, but my voice just isn't conditioned like it used to be. Did you guys enjoy? I mean, so with the Sergeant Tank, I used to do coffee with Sergeant Tank. Kind of one of those things that I did for a long time. And, kind of kicking this one off. Coffee with Crosshill Resellers, episode 1. I'll kind of just do that. You guys will know if you see that title. Essentially, we're just hanging out like this, kind of open conversation. I was thinking before I even went on this thing, would this be maybe an opportunity? If you guys are not aware, what I was sharing before when we made that transition is once a month I wanted to designate at least devote my time and attention to aspects of the fish keeping hobby. Whether if that it won't be in an edited fashion, that would be like this, or in a collaborative sense where I would end up doing a collaboration with another individual within that fish keeping niche. And I have one lined up eventually that I know that you guys would, I would hope that you would actually be able to learn from it. And that should be pretty engaging and pretty entertaining. And I am looking forward to that one. And I've already reached out to them several months ago because I am very proud of where they have come. But I want to wait for the right opportunity, if that makes sense, as we kind of grow things here. And I know that might seem a little bit different, but I would hope that there's still a vast majority of individuals that have been following us for any period of time will just stay with us. And I get not every video like this is going to catch your attention. Not every video is going to be of interest to you, and I totally respect that. It's no different if I was still doing the fish keeping thing. It wasn't like every single video necessarily appealed to somebody. And I want to be able to continue doing this. I'm just trying out different stuff, so bear with me in the process. You got to kind of just try different things out, see what sticks, what doesn't, and kind of go from there. So, it's not my first rodeo. I've been doing a lot. I built my entire channel previously off of doing live streams like this. I was the one that essentially called it many years ago. If you want to look at the direction of the future, it's going to be in podcasting, live stream format, and live auctioning. I called that stuff many years ago, and now you see it come to fruition. So I seen the direction of the way things were heading. Besides, that was my greatest passion. That's what I personally enjoy doing. Again, I understand that YouTube, meaning you as an audience. That's what every content creator should be gearing their attention around. There's a lot more that goes into it than just behind a camera. I always encourage somebody is if they think to themselves, "Well, I could do it." Yeah, give it a whirl. Trust me. If I look back and look at some of my first videos I put out, they were absolutely the most cringiest videos I've ever met in my life. And then as time went on, I realized, truly my greatest desire and passion is to engage with an audience. It is interacting with an audience. It is sharing, where it doesn't have to be just so hyper focused on the topic, but yet we are human, be able to share, kind of what's going on in life and just hanging out, just like we are right now. I mean, we went from chatting about hats to, on the photo booth to talking about food and and what have you. And that's exactly what I love to do, later in those live streams. We always focus on the initial aspect of it, plan an hour, and it might turn into longer than that. As long as there's an audience and people want to hang out, chit chat, and talk, I encourage it. I'm all for it. Do it. But about 5 more minutes, you guys. I'm going to be wrapping it up. It's about 10 o'clock here, Central Standard Time. So I don't know if you're on the East Coast, an hour ahead of us. Obviously, if you're in another part of the world, that could be completely different as well. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all hanging out. I'll take one more question or whatever if there's anything else that comes up. But yeah, I'm spent at this point, and I am gonna call it here in about 5 minutes. Um, I'm not. I guess that dude that first started on YouTube where I could go all nights. I look at it now. It's like it's past my bedtime. But you guys are what give me energy. So I mean, if more folks start rolling in with questions, you know how it can be. I'll do my best to continue carrying on and engaging with you guys. But yeah, so but any other questions? Please put them in the chat. I got 2 different screens up. So I got my StreamYards, and then I got my YouTube over here. So hopefully I don't miss anything. But we'll hang out with you guys here just for a few minutes. And do not be shy. Don't be bashful. I can see that there's more than just one viewer in the background. So I remember one funny thing I used to do way back when is I used to start calling out others, and it was quite comical. That's what I miss about the fish keeping community. It was just a phenomenal group of individuals. I could start rambling off names that hadn't been within live streams like this, and I just knew my intuition was telling me they're lurking in the background. And I would just start mentioning names within the fish keeping community, and they'll start popping out of the woodwork. So, but yeah, I definitely miss you all. If you happen to be lurking in the background, I truly hope that y'all have been doing amazing. And if not, I truly hope it gets better for you, so I can empathize with you. Trust me, about as jacked up as they come. So you just got to keep your head on, just continue pressing forth and moving. So, a bunch of lurkers, eh? Oh. Yep. We definitely get some lurkers up in here, that's for sure. And I can't really say too much about that due to the fact that I'm a lurker myself. So, but it's too funny. Man, I don't even know last time I've even done a 2-hour live stream. So I see 6 of y'all in the chat. There's 6. Unless I got my kid or something on here. But I know that your lurkers are out there. Don't make me start calling names out now like I used to do. So if that is one of y'all, I hope that puts a smile on your face. I know again, I remember there's a couple of individuals, and I'm out of respect, I'm not going to mention the names, but I'll never forget, when I first started here on the platform. You always kind of remember those first couple of subscribers that help you kind of kickstart stuff, and I remember there's just the three of us, just three of us on a live, just hanging out like this. I mean, I was just chilling on my couch, and we're just talking fish, and that definitely brings back memories. So, I appreciate you guys in this. I really do. If there was nobody in here, I would have already uh, closed this up a long time ago. So, WN Crash, I appreciate you. I really do. We're staying engaged because without you guys carrying on the conversation, I'm not just going to sit here and talk to the air, I guess you would say. But it definitely is different because, like I said, I'm used to the past, and I get the passes in the past because I'm not doing it anymore. Because I know, obviously, here, I'm sure a lot of individuals were disappointed. I've had people reach out, which I appreciate it. I think when I started coming back, hey, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. Good talking with you as well. I hope that you have a great evening, and we'll catch you definitely on the next one. Thanks so much for your engagement. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, we'll be wrapping up here, you guys. Um, and again, keep an eye out for the community section. So, which is now post here on the YouTube channel. So if you go to anybody's landing page on YouTube, you will see where it says post. That used to be the old community section. That's where we'll be providing any updates at any point in the future. Just continue to expect probably impromptu live streams for the foreseeable future until we end up getting on a schedule. Hopefully at some point I will get back to the rhythm of getting some edited content up for you guys. Once we kind of figure out the logistics there. My PC is not one to cooperate when it comes to the editing software, so it would make it much easier for me to be able to do that, especially with more concise, direct to the point, kind of out the fluff, and get to the basis of what the topic is. If there is any other topics that you want me to cover, if something sparks your interest, obviously this is now geared around reselling, not fish keeping. So specifically with reselling, if there's anything that catches your interest in the future, maybe you're watching somebody else's video, maybe you're driving down the road, you're just hanging out, whatever the case might be, please let me know in that community section. That's what it's there for. I would love the engagement. You will start to see once I get a little bit more going. Just bear with me on that, but I do have a Crosshill Resellers Facebook page going. That's another opportunity. Maybe not everybody wants to engage on YouTube. Maybe that's not their way that they want to go about doing it. Then eventually I will get a Instagram. So those will be the three main platforms right now. I don't plan to do anything on TikTok or anything like that. I know some individuals even use LinkedIn. So hey, more power to you. But it's going to be YouTube, number one, Facebook, and then Instagram. So I would imagine most those are on Facebook are probably on Instagram and vice versa. But with that being said, you guys, make it a blessed rest of your evening. Make it a great rest of your night. And we will see you back here on the next one. Please keep an eye out on the community. I will be posting as far as any coupon codes, discounts. Check us out over at Crosshill Resellers and our eBay store. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, we'll talk to you right back here on the next one.